First one is from Bramble 451. Apathy is similar to depression in that it saps the motivations to do anything. When you ask yourself, what's important to me? The answer that comes back is nothing. The answer to every question about what's important is nothing. And the answer to every effort is, why bother? How do you get your brain out of this state? Who cares? It's a great question, Bramble. And it's one that a lot of people have to deal with. There's a thing. If you've read David Hawkins' book, Letting Go, which talks a lot about apathy in this relationship, an example would be, he says that apathy is the belief that I can't, and grief, which is a step up from apathy, is the belief that I won't. And they're slightly different. I can't means I can't do it, period. I won't means I can, but I won't. And so what I want you to do is start looking at it from that perspective. Can I, and ask yourself this, can I switch this from I can't to I won't? From I can't to I won't. Start to think of it that way, because when you switch from I can't to I won't, you're actually literally changing the way you look at it. You're looking at it a little differently. Suddenly, I can do it, I'm just not. And then it's easy to say, well, wait a minute, if I won't do it, but I can I even let that go? And you can start climbing up the ladder. What you have to do is climb up a little bit at a time. It's not going to be a huge leap. You don't step out of apathy all at once. You step out a little bit at a time. Now, the next thing, there's several ways to do this. So I'm going to give several of them to you. Another thing you can do is look for an area of your life you're not in apathy. And go be in that area, play in that area, move in that area. Maybe it's dance, maybe it's some form of movement, which is great for the waking up the body. Maybe, I know somebody who watched, he literally spent a weekend watching really sad films that brought him into grief, which is where you cry. And he cried out so much emotion that he came out of his apathy, and that was huge for him. And he moved in that direction. Maybe it's walking out at the beach for a while, getting in the sunshine, something that kind of brings your vibration, the heaviness of your body, up lighter. And then you can start looking from that perspective. You could, once you're lighter, you can go back and start doing a releasing process on the apathy, because you'll naturally be lighter. Doing meditations is another huge one. When you're in apathy, just simply sitting and meditating, doing nothing. So simply sitting and meditating is huge. That's where you're basically almost doing nothing, but you're doing so much. It's one of the most powerful ways to break apathy is meditation. So I'd get online and find a basic meditation you like. And then the next thing I want to talk about in relation to apathy, and this will give you a better perspective on what apathy is. Some people say in apathy that I can't feel anything. I can't feel, they say that they're so numbed out they can't feel. But in reality, apathy is not the absence of feeling. I'm going to say that again. Apathy is not the absence of feeling. And if you've read Hawkins' book or Sedona Method, those are great books to understand the emotions a little bit better. But this is a principle I've been playing with a lot. And I think it's helped me immensely. And it's helped some other people that I've talked to about it. Apathy is literally feeling too much. Not the absence of feeling, but feeling too much. You're trying to feel everything at once. Imagine if you were a radio and you're supposed to tune to a specific station so that you can hear the music. Maybe you're trying to tune to a salsa station. I've been dancing some salsa lately, so playing with it. So that's kind of on my mind. But you're trying to tune to a salsa station. And imagine that you're like a tuner. You tune into an idea, to a feeling, to an emotion, to start to project that into your life. And what you're doing with apathy is you're overloading by tuning into all the stations at once, or a bunch of stations at once. Now imagine what that would sound like on your radio if suddenly you were tuned in to 50 different stations, to 60 different stations. Your mind would, even 10, even 5, your mind would start to overload, and it couldn't process it all. So you would have to, in a sense, learn to almost back up and start to relax and start to almost isolate the station you want. Don't think of learning or realizing or processing information as the idea of, how do I say this, getting in touch, developing an idea. Think of it as the idea already exists. Everything we can think of already exists, or at least the idea for it exists, or we couldn't conceive it. In a sense, there's a frequency wave, if you look at quantum physics, for it, or if you look at Bruce Lipton's work, and you just have to tune into that. But if you tune into too much, it's not going to work. If you get on a bicycle and you're going to learn to ride, you already have the ability to ride the bike, or you couldn't have learned how. So the ability was in your body. The key ingredient is balance. Your body had the ability to balance before you got on the bike. What you had to do was figure out what overcorrecting was and stop overcorrecting and find that little space of balance. From the beginning, you're all over the place. That's the same as tuning into too much. And as you isolate just the right spot, that's when it all starts to work. That's when flow hits. And then you follow that spot, that in a sense, that point of balance, that frequency. Well, think of, again, apathy as you've over-tuned in to everything and you're trying to fix too many things, take care of too many things. You're trying to make too many things. And so what happens is, through the overload, I can't deal with it all. I can't handle this. That's what meditation does. It teaches you to drop out of all that and just tune into stillness underneath it all. And that's why meditation is so important. That's why yoga, things like yoga, can be really good too. So it's about moving out of that space. Now, if you want to understand this idea that I talked about earlier, from moving from can't to won't, read Hawkins' book. I think it's a very good book for this topic. Read particularly the chapters on apathy and grief and climbing up the scale there in his book, Letting Go. Sedona Method, also a good book by Hale Dwoskin, has some good information on it too. So hopefully this helps you. And again, play with meditation. So I'm going to revisit that. Play with some different meditations. There's tons of them on YouTube, really good ones too. Go out there and look for them. And just try different ones out. And what you're going to do is, in apathy, the hardest part is getting started. But what I'm going to say to you is, you're already past, to some degree, I can't ramble. Otherwise, you wouldn't even ask the question. You're already past the what's the point, or you wouldn't have asked the question. You're already into there's got to be a way, which is moving up the scale a little bit. So there's part of you trying to tune into the answer. So I invite you into that.